Hey, my friends, welcome to the Breaking 1000 podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brewer. I'm here with Scott Wilson and Hunter Wilson, and we're going to jump in
Let's do it
quickly. So when you're hiring people, it's not always easy, but I think the key is what are the components that would help us get to a higher percentage that this is the right hire?
Man, that's such a great question because there's nothing worse than hiring somebody and then just a few weeks later going like, God, I think I blew that one.
Yeah.
That happened to me one time. I hired somebody, and then when I introduced them, Mark hadn't met them yet, and the moment they came in and I introduced them, he goes, she walked out and he goes like, that ain't gonna work.
But we tried to make it work for a season.
I tried.
I love your question too, because it's like, how do you increase the percentage? Because I don't think you ever really like fully know.
No.
You can't know for sure, but you can do strategies to increase the percentage and the likelihood that it is going to work by putting in steps before you make the decision.
Right, because I think even on like 100% sure, it could have been 100% the right person, but something happened.
Yeah.
Once they're there, that didn't have to do with it was the right person. Something happened in their family. Something happened in the church. There was a shift.
And
all
you
that.
can't know everything, so you're not going to know every single thing because you're not God.
Yeah.
But you can increase, like you said, Hunter, the percentage that this hire is actually going to be a good
Well, before I go
fit.
into that, I just was thinking about this. Is I think we have a misnomer or a thought in our mind that is like, if this person doesn't stay on for the next 10 years, I messed up a hire. No, I think you're hiring people that is for this time. It may be 3 years. Do you know the average stay of a staff member is 1.5 years?
Wow.
Average stay of a pastor is like 3.5. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily good or bad. I'm just saying it's what it is. I do think sometimes we have in our mind that if I'm not hiring this person and it doesn't last for a long time, it was a bad hire. I got it where it's not a mistake if they worked out for over a year. And you're going like, oh, that's all. I know. I don't want it to be. I want to hire people for more than that. But sometimes it is for a season. They're coming in and there's a purpose. And by the way, everybody in the world but the church gets this because they'll hire people saying, hey, even boards, I hire a CEO. I'm hiring this person because we need to make cuts. So I'm going to get a hatchet guy. You know, you don't hatchet forever. Hey, I need somebody because we want to build this company for selling.
Yeah.
And so you get that person. You get a CEO for a purpose. You get a staff member for a purpose and a season, and who gets you to a certain place is probably not going to be the same person who gets you to the next place.
Right.
And so that's okay on that. But here's some things I learned. First of all, you got to get a preferred profile. What I mean by that is a lot of times we need a youth pastor, a kids pastor, a worship pastor, whatever we need on staff or whatever the personnel is. And so we'll just say, hey, let's get some resumes. Let's interview some people. Hey, I like that guy. What do you think? Well, you know, this and this. You don't even know what you're just looking at them and seeing if it works. The worst thing for me is I love people so much. I'm not trying to hire somebody to be my friend. I'm just saying I think they could be a good youth pastor. They seem like a good guy. Let's give them a try. That doesn't work. You've got to get in your mind, what are you looking for?
So you're looking for a template. You're looking for a template and seeing whether this person actually fills the spots in this template.
And so in every job, it's a little bit different. I mean, what I'm looking for in a worship pastor is different than what I'm looking for a youth or kids, so forth. Okay. But there are 5 things that I'm looking for in anybody I'm hiring. And they're kind of like the headings or the big thoughts, and then you put them underneath there of what it fits. So for instance, I want everybody on my staff to have character. And when I mean character, I'm not just talking about moral. I mean, I'm kind of given it's a given they're a Christian. I'm given that they're living righteous. Okay, that I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about character like they show up on time, they get their work done. They're going to have follow through. I feel like there's character on the management of their life.
So it's more of like they do what they said they will.
Yes. And you say, well, how did you figure that out? Well, you got to figure out ways in your interview to figure that out. Maybe it's even in making reference calls, or you're even setting things up of, hey, could you get that into me, like your resume? Could you get that to me by tomorrow at this time? Or could you, hey, I'd like you to work on this. Could you get it back?
Yeah.
Part of it is me testing, do they hit it on time? Or, hey, man, I'm late, that kind of helps. So even in the interview, I'll try to do that. So character, okay? Or interview process. I mean, not just like in the interview right there. The second is competency. Do they know what they're doing? I mean, like, I need to figure out, do they actually know how to function in this job? Do they have the skills and the ability? Okay. The third is I want to know, do they have chemistry with us? Do they fit with us? Okay. And because anybody who leaves and anybody who comes changes the chemistry of that team, right? And then the fourth is I want to know that they fit our culture. You say, well, what's that different than like chemistry? Well, chemistry is we all get along and be friends. Yeah. Culture is more of like, here at our church, this culturally is acceptable and this culturally isn't. For instance, there's some churches you can dress a certain way, but other churches you can't dress. You can't wear this, but you can wear it there. Or it can be, I'm making this up, tattoos, not tattoos, or like drinking or not drinking alcohol, like, getting drunks off the table because that's sin in the Bible, but,
casual
having
drinking,
wine at a meal. Well, that may be okay at some church, but not at that. These are cultural things, right? And so they need to not only fit like, hey, we could be friends, but doesn't fit culture. The last is probably the hardest for me, and that's capacity to figure out, is because I think capacity, how Jesus told the story about the master who had 3 servants. One had the 5 talents, 2 talents, 1. It wasn't actually like he doesn't explain why one guy gets 5, one guy gets 2, one gets 1, why he chose that. But it speaks to us that there's certain capacities people have. There's a 5 talent type guy, a 2 talent guy, 1 talent. And so you need to figure out the job you're hiring for, how much capacity does that person need? Now, what I mean by that is don't hire someone. You're not trying to hire someone to do the job that it is now. You're trying to hire someone who can get it to where it's wanting to go.
So they've got the ability to scope out and move forward in capacity. It's not necessarily someone who can manage the current reality, but someone who can scale.
I think people
with
all the time
reality.
They're saying, I think that guy can handle where we're at now.
Oh,
he can handle a youth group
it's
of
so
50.
problematic
or he can do
when
this.
you think that way.
You're going like, we're trying to grow. So I want somebody who has greater capacity of that, even if they got to grow into it.
So you just hit on something that I think is really difficult for us when we're hiring sometimes, is because often when we're hiring when there's maybe the feeling of an urgent need.
Of course, when there's a gap, you're going like, man, we got to get somebody.
Yeah, our kids pastor left. We got to go scramble and find a kids pastor. And the need is in your face every single week, and it's scary. So the pressure to do that is really intense.
And I think what's worse than hiring somebody quick is what's worse than having the pressure of not having somebody there is hiring them quick and then realizing I got the wrong person, and here we go again. It's going to be elongated in the process of I got a problem, they're gone, I got to get another. So it's not just having the profile, because even having those 5 C's, you go, okay, cool, I got the 5 C's, but like, how do I even know if they fit those 5, I think it's the interviewing process is important. And this is where it went for us, I think, where it was kind of like a 50-50 if it worked to maybe a 90%. I think when we did this, it upped the game. And here's what I had to figure out. I'm not good at interviewing because I'm pretty good at being a pastor. Which
is interesting, because I think most pastors would say, hey, get that person in here, get that gal in here, get that guy in here, let me talk to him, and I can probably figure out whether they should be here or not. But the problem is if you're a visionary leader, which most pastors are, then if you're a good pastor, okay, so if you're a really good pastor, you see people as, man, God has called you. He thinks you're awesome, and I think you're awesome, and you could do great things. And so what happens is you end up seeing a 10 on everybody's head, which you should in being a pastor and preaching. You're seeing greatness in them, okay? But the problem in interviewing is that you end up casting vision to them and saying, man, if you were just on this team, let me tell you what we're going to do and what God can do. And man, it'd be awesome having this team. You could be great here. And you kind of go like, you may not have worked there, but you just didn't have our team. You didn't have me as a pastor. You didn't have our church, and that's not a good way to do it. It's like I'm talking you into coming on our team rather than figuring out if you're the right person on the team.
Yeah, it's a good.
So then how did we mitigate it? How did
I
this
said,
happen?
I'm going to interview last. I'm going to have it. I will always have at least 4 other staff members interview in a process. not just one, not just two, 4 that will do it before it comes to me. So it goes like this. You were a person that I usually always had in the interviewing process because I called you like a chemistry snob. I know it's not kind of nice on that, but it kind of speaks to kind of like you have a coffee snob, like they can really, they're into it, they know. And I with you, it was kind of like you could feel if somebody was going to fit on our
Kind of like
team.
we talked about at the beginning. That person came in.
Yeah.
I had been out of town or something,
Yes.
and I walked in. I go, oops.
Yeah, that's not going to work. And it wasn't because you saw her not being able to type well or not be able to
And not
figure
as a
something
great
out well.
human being that
No,
was going to be
it
able to
had
do great
with,
things in
that's not going to
Kingdom.
work chemistry.
Yeah.
So that's where I
Yeah.
said, you're going to interview somebody, and you usually kind of, what'd you do? Take them to lunch or did something? You kind of put them in more of
Informal.
an
Get them
informal-
get them away from the table, get them away from the desk, and let's just go be somewhere and figure out, is this going to work? Can we hang out together? Can we be
Because the whole
together?
objective wasn't, can you go figure out all 5 C's on this person?
Yeah.
It's that I was basically saying, you're good at chemistry. That's your primary thing I want you to do. And then when you get done, send me a text, basically green, yellow, red.
And here's
red,
why.
Yeah. Hey, I felt this person's great. They're
Right.
going to fit.
Yeah.
Yellow is, I think they will, but there was a couple of things, Red, there's no way. Okay. Then I would have another person that I think is really good. It's usually kind of an HR-ish type person. If it might have been the HR, but it'd probably be somebody who's more like really gets into the work of the management type stuff. And I want them to kind of go, do you think this person has the character competency type stuff? Right. And I'd go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you don't have 4 staff members, could this be like board members as
absolutely.
well?
Question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing
It's kind
that
of
up.
whoever's on the journey with you that are your high capacity
They
leaders.
get how things
Yeah,
work.
and
They
honestly,
get the culture.
You don't. Thank you for bringing that up, because I'm not saying it's magic that it's got to be 4. Maybe it's 2. It's really at the level of where you're at, of who you have, because somebody could go, hey, I'm going to be doing character competency and capacity, and you're doing chemistry and culture.
Yeah.
You know?
It's almost like you're doing like personality types, don't you think?
Yes.
Like it's like Mark, I know Mark, he's going to be looking for this.
Yes.
If Mom does it, I know Mom is going to be looking for this.
Yes.
I know you're going to be looking
Well,
for
it's a great perspective because we've talked a lot about this idea of a mosaic, and as God speaking to people, they all have different perspectives,
Yes.
different viewpoints. And to your point, it's who on your team do you think has
a different perspective.
different
than you. We
perspective.
all want to be looking.
but you also as a leader trust the perspective. So you're not getting
Correct.
some rando dude to
No, I got to get
interview.
people that I trust get me and get us.
Yeah.
They're deep in culture and high performance.
Yeah.
Okay, both. And so they're going to do that. And so you're right. It could be 2 people, but they're taking these 3 and these people are taking this 2, whatever. But they go green, red, or yellow. And here's the deal. I've never, ever, not once, ever hired somebody that somebody got a red. If somebody on the team said red, it's done.
Even
not
if
get-
you can't prove all the
No,
reasons why it
but
might
if
be
you're
red,
feeling,
there is a
I'm
sense.
trusting you. But here's
Yeah.
the deal: if you told me red, and then I'm saying, okay, I'm not hiring him, that brings a level of trust between us, and you're carrying the load more seriously. You're not going to give a red unless it's really red.
Which is interesting. So, in doing this model, what we're talking about doing is moving past, man, Pastor really screwed that higher up. And no, we together
We're all
are hearing
invested
from
in
the
this.
Lord about this, and we're investing our time, talent, and treasure in this.
So the
Super
first step
important.
would be you got to create a better profile, not just saying like, I need a youth pastor. You know someone? You got to create the profile so you can like see them when they come in. It's like a template.
I want to just double down on that a little bit. Some youth pastor may be, hey, yeah, I'll do the midweek service, but I need to be doing all of this national stuff and international stuff and doing all these podcasts and doing all these things. That might not be the profile that you need for this current season. And so I love what you're saying there. It has to be specific to your unique situation.
Let's make sure we understand what I'm saying. The 5 C's, that's a foundation of a profile for everybody.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're saying, I think we have money to hire somebody who has potential to get good, or I think we want to go get somebody who's already proven and done that. You have to figure out, what is my pay? Am I looking for somebody single or married? Am I looking for somebody who has experience, or they're starting out because of my pay? You have to write all that stuff out on top of this 5 foundational C's.
Yeah. And then basically after you create a profile, maybe you start looking and you're like, okay, this could be someone.
Yes.
when you're doing that, we're not just having one person with limited perspective view it. We're going to take it through a team-wide process to get multi-perspective.
Right.
Because we're all going to work together. We're a team, so we're all going to have to be in lockstep together. So it's good to have that other perspective.
I'm glad you're slowing it down a little bit, because here's the deal. Let's say you have your profile. Now you're getting the word out. You got to talk. Maybe it's district leadership. Give me some resumes, or you're telling people you know.
I feel like it's a lot of friends talking to friends.
You got all of that coming. Yeah. So now you got a resume. You're looking at the resume, comparing it to your preferred profile, and say, this looks like somebody who could be potential. You're not just bringing them in. You're doing a Zoom call. I did this, but it's doing a Zoom call, or you're doing a FaceTime call to talk to them a bit. Just get somebody's doing that. Probably not me.
Yeah.
But they're getting like, hey, I think this could be somebody. Let's bring them in. Now what we're talking about on the interview process is what you do when you're bringing them in, the interviews.
To me, I mean, we've gone through a lot of people and hired a lot of people. This is my opinion. I don't say it's like blanket statement for everybody, but I honestly could care less about the resume. I think a lot of it is just like, okay, maybe you worked at a big church, but what role did you play inside of that? Like that doesn't really mean anything to me of where you went to school and where you were at staff last. To me, what I think is such a really, really helpful way of filtering whether this person is going to fit, number one, is the interview process to see, like, you can feel it out. But also, if that is the subjective side, I almost want to look at, is there any way I can look at any of your work as well?
Yep.
To me, if you can get a person to do a project for you and collaborate with you, or if they're more of a pastoral role, like, okay, can I see, like, curriculum that you've made? Can I see? It is
like show your work. So it's not like, hey, what's 2 + 2? 4. I mean, this is actually wrong, but the idea is
actually that's not wrong. Well, 2 + 2 is 4.
You're right. On an algebraic equation, they usually want to see your work when you're training people. You're right. 2 + 2 is 4. So what I hear you saying is, I don't want to just know the answer. What I want to see is, how did you get to the answer?
Yeah.
What's a more three-dimensional way of interviewing? So,
and I'm not really talking about like, I'm going to give you some kind of like puzzle that you need to solve in the moment. Like, 2 people walk into...
This isn't an escape room. Hey, we're going to find out if you can get out of the room or not.
If you can, like, it depends on what you're talking about. Are we talking about hiring a youth pastor from another youth pastor position? It's like, okay, well, I don't know how they're going to really collaborate on a project. But if you're talking about, like, maybe someone that comes in and they can do a project with us, or I can look at their...
Maybe a web design. It may be marketing. It could be, hey, could you come in and sing this week? It could be, hey, could you be on our teaching? Before I hired somebody as a teacher, it could be, could you come speak 2 or 3 times?
Exactly.
If it's a youth pastor, I would definitely want to say, show me, pick 3 or 4 of your messages and let me see them.
Yeah.
You know, there's different stuff
like that.
To me,
I want to see the competency side by show me your work, not show me your resume. And then the subjective side of, like, is it a personality fit? I think it works really well in the interview.
So we're doing the interviewing process, okay? Everybody's communicating back to me if I'm the guy hiring, because as you get bigger, it may not be to me, it may be to the executive or whatever. But when it was at a smaller level and so forth, it would come to me and I'd be the final person to interview. If I had a red, it didn't mean I didn't meet with them. It just meant I met with them shorter and I already knew what I was going to do. Say, hey, thanks for coming in, man. That was so cool. Hey, we'll get back to you. Appreciated you coming in and just love your the getting to know you.
Thanks
it's going to be basically thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's somebody that there's a yellow in there, then I'm going to take my time a little bit more focusing in on my discernment in that area the best I can to see that. And then we'll huddle up as a team and I'll tell them what I think and we'll do this. Okay. And then if it's all greens, then that means I'm coming in and I'm still going to try to discern if I like them, but it's with a greater freedom of casting vision to them of, man, hey, here's what I want. Hey, let me tell you something what I want on a team. Let me tell you what I really see is important for you to know about us if you come on here. Okay, it's more that type of deal. I have never hired someone if there's a red. I have hired at times where there is a yellow. For sure, especially if it's only one in a certain place, because that's not really, it's just saying, check this out. What do you think? Okay. I have maybe once or twice that I can remember had all greens and still didn't hire them. And the reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes there was just in my interview, I go, I don't feel it.
Yeah.
Even if everybody gave greens, I don't give a green.
Yeah, because the Holy Spirit is speaking to us about, is this the person for now? And even if they're all greens, check all the boxes.
Yeah.
Just because you have a green
that
doesn't mean that you're saying they're the one. You're saying, I don't see a
From
problem.
my perspective, yeah.
From my perspective, I don't see a problem in this area.
Can I talk about one more perspective? I want to tee you up for this. Like one more yellow light that I think is really important to look for on top of the foundation of the C's that you're talking about and like the money fit, all that kind of stuff, is I know that you really care about interviewing the spouse as well. Can you talk about that?
I'm so glad you brought it up because I kind of always think I'm interviewing the person I'm hiring to see if they can do the job. And then I want to know their spouse and interview their spouse to see how long they'll be able to do it. Okay. So what I mean by that is if that spouse, like this person, I've interviewed somebody before and then found out when I talked to the spouse says, I don't even know why he's talking to you. This is ridiculous. I don't even know why he's interviewing with you because I told him already I'm not moving. Well,
That'd be a problem.
why am I even talking to you and why did I even come in? I mean, this is weird. Well, he thought maybe after they met you, she would come. Okay. I just said, well, man, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, even if she did move, she's reluctant. Okay.
Yeah.
I also want to do, if I've met people before and I said, great person, even if it's a woman, I'm meeting their husband and he's a jerk, then I'm going, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I got to see the spouse in the picture and some people go, yeah, you're hiring that spouse too. No, you're not hiring them for a job, but I am knowing they're part of the equation because whoever works for me when they go home is hearing from their spouse, they're working you too hard. I don't like how they treat you, or man, this is,
There's
or
influence
man,
there.
Hey, you're down, but listen, I trust Pastor. There's a voice there that's saying either, come on, let's keep going. I've got the calling and vision too, or not.
Yeah.
And so I try to always have it where we have interviews like this, but also go out to eat with the spouse and them with Jenny. I never hire a woman that is going to be direct report to me that my wife, Jenny, hasn't been on that interview and she signed off. There's been a couple times she said, I don't feel good. And I said, what are you talking? I thought they were amazing. She goes, yeah, I don't really like how that's clicking so much between the two of y'all. It seems like I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Now, she never was saying, I think I don't trust you. No, she's just going, I just don't feel comfortable.
You weren't trying to fight it either.
No.
If she feels uncomfortable, then
done.
it's a done deal. We don't
and
have
so
to
then
fight
that
it.
makes her feel trust on it. And by the way, if I do have a lady on staff, I'm very careful of being alone in an office together.
Yeah.
I mean, my assistant will be outside, or the door's cracked, or the door's open, or there's a window,
You
whatever.
got parameters set up.
Yeah, you just got to.
I think all of this is just like best practices for decades of figuring out how do you increase the likelihoods that a hire is going to work out.
Yep.
You're going to create a profile. You're going to do multi-interviews. You're going to try to see their work, not their resume. You're going to work with the spouse inside of it. You're going to go last in the interview. I mean, there's so many things that are just like, man, let me try to protect you. And I think all of this is not necessarily this is the capital T, like the way. But if you are going to hire someone, it is so much more painful to hire quickly and pay the consequences than it is to go slow and increase the likelihood with every step along the way that you're setting up.
Yep.
And so in this, take these or take what you found from other people, but put steps in place to get multi-perspectives on the situation.
Get proactive on it and get a system in place that isn't just, hey, somebody left. We need to find somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Can y'all get something out? Let's get somebody.
Hey, Landon,
get them in here.
Anything else that you think we need to hit here? You
think
want
he
to
just did
encapsulate
it.
it? I thought it was good.
Cool.
All right, awesome. So thank you for being with us here today. And I know that this helps a lot of people in preparing for hiring positions. If you have a question or you have a topic that you'd like us to tee up here on the podcast, just email us at hey, H-E-Y, @readysetgrow.church. And we'll see you on the next episode.